welcome to this brief program, Memorial Day program today. As everybody knows, the traditional parade and program that we've had here in Stoughton for many years was canceled. So we're here today to help pass the torch and to keep the faith for those American men and women who paid the supreme sacrifice. Before I begin, I just have two short announcements. Starting at 11 o'clock, following the program, the VFW is serving barbecue chicken to drive by and pick it up. The proceeds that they have will go toward help maintain this beautiful park. The second thing is we still have to remember social distancing, so please practice 6 feet, at least 6 feet away from the person next to you. Memorial Day is a day set aside for remembering and honoring those military personnel who died while serving their country in the United States Armed Forces. For you fellow veterans here today, we know we are doing the proper thing by remembering those whose lives were cut short defending what we believe in. And we thank all others here today for joining us to remember those who died on the battlefield. The tradition started during the Civil War, when women put the flowers on the graves of both the Union and Confederate soldiers. Originally, the date for Memorial Day was May 30th. The originators debated on this date as to whether it should be named after a significant Civil War battle, like Vicksburg or Antietam or Gettysburg or Bull Run or one of the others, but they decided that all battles were significant. So in 1871, they settled on the date of May 30th. And it was at that time called Decoration Day. It was a day to honor all Civil War fallen veterans by putting flowers and small flags, U.S. flags, on their graves. After World War I, the procedure was revised to encompass all members of the armed forces who had fallen in any conflict. One of the major battles by the U.S. in the 1914-1918 World War I battle was fought in the Flanders area of northern Belgium. That Flanders area is about the size of a little larger than Dane County. Of the thousands of soldiers buried in that countryside in Flanders, 411 of them are Americans. John McCrae, a medic serving the Canadian Army, wrote the poem In Flanders Field. I visited that battlefield area in Belgium several years ago and was struck not only by the cemetery itself, but also by the thousands of poppies that grow wild in that area. Here's the poem. In Flanders Field where poppies blow between the crosses row on row that mark our place. And in the sky the lark still bravely singing, fly scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Just days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Field. To you, from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with those who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Field. Several months after McCrae wrote the poem, it was published in the Ladies' Home Journal and was read by Mona Mitchell. She then wrote an answer to this poem, We Shall Keep the Faith. And this is the poem. Oh, you who sleep in Flanders Fields, sleep sweet, rise anew, we caught the torch you threw. And holding high, we keep the faith with all who died in Flanders Field. We cherish too the poppy red that grows over fields where valor led. It seems to signal to the skies that the blood of heroes never dies, but lends a luster to the red of the flowers that bloom above the dead in Flanders Field. And now the torch and poppy, wear in honor of the dead. Fear not that you have died for naught. We'll teach the lessons that you brought in Flanders Field. That is why we're here today, to pass the torch and to keep the faith for those who died in battle. These poems were an inspiration for Poppy Day as well. The blood red poppy is a symbol for remembering those killed in action and the blood shed on the field of battle. Poppy Day became official in 1921, and poppies are normally distributed on Memorial Day each year. In 1971, Congress changed Decoration Day to Memorial Day and designated that it should be observed on the last Monday of May. All told, there have been 174 Stoughton area servicemen and women killed in action defending our country, our values, and our way of life. They are in the Civil War 79, World War I 26, World War II 62, Korea 4, Vietnam 6. Now, placing a wreath on the centerpiece of the Veterans Memorial, which behind me, which lists the names of those 174 Stoughton area people killed in action, are Veterans of Foreign Wars Commander Eileen Tape and American Legion Commander Sonny Swangstu. Commanders Tape and Swangstu will now read the names of the Stoughton area servicemen and women who have passed away since the last Memorial Day. Following the reading of the names will be the rifle salute by the members of the American Legion Post 59, and to be followed by the folding and presentation of the flag. Finally, there will be the playing of taps. Commanders?
Thank you, Bud. Good morning. Aberg Dale, Vietnam, Army. Burgee Richard, peacetime, Coast Guard. Erks Dennis, Vietnam, Armed Forces. Eversole William, peacetime, Air National Guard. Fuller Craig, Vietnam, Air Force. Grandvold Norman, Vietnam, Marines. Gunderson Eric, Grenada, Navy. Halverson Richard, World War II, Armed Forces. Hawkinson Lyman, Korea, Army. Hawkinson Philip, Vietnam, Air National Guard. Helmke Donald, Korea, Army. Howard Homer, Korea, Army. Jarvis Robert, Vietnam, Armed Forces. Larson Curtis, World War II, Army. Lored Shirley, Korea, Navy. Leslie James, Korea, Army. Nelson Alvey, World War II, Navy. Witzel John, Vietnam, Army.
Thank you, Commander. Nelson Howard D., Korea, Air National Guard. Nelson Paul J., World War II, Army. Orman Theodore W., Vietnam, Army. Robach Douglas L., Vietnam, Army. Reiners John L., Vietnam, U.S. Air Force. Reynolds Lyle E., World War II, Vietnam, Army. Roloff, Roger G., Korea, Marines. Skinner, William J. Jr., Korea, Vietnam, Air National Guard. Stickelstead, Michael P., Vietnam Army. Stoughton, Douglas T., Vietnam Army. Swadek, Gerald J., Korea, Navy and Army. Taylor, Philip E., Vietnam Army. Tigan, Odin A., Berlin Crisis, Army National Guard. Tolo, Robert M., Vietnam Air National Guard. Tyron, Stephen K., Vietnam Army. Balaji, Sigmund E., World War II, Navy. Wright, Claire L., World War II, Army Air Corps. And just recently, Gerald Treloff of the Army. Thank you.
That concludes our program. Thank you.
Carl Sampson, ladies and gentlemen.
The Gettysburg Address was delivered by Abraham Lincoln on a blustery November 19th, 1863. Fourscore And 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here. But it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.